Hello everyone, happy Friday. Welcome back to a new video. I hope you're all doing well. As you can see, I'm still working with some leftover paint. Of course, I have been adding to it little by little, and I've been just trying to use it all up. So today, this is exactly what I'm doing, and I have a feeling I am not gonna be quite done after this one. There's just so much paint on that palette that I can still use. But anyway, as you can see, I am just liberally applying them. I am trying to keep the colors on the lighter side because I have a plan. I am working with a dry paper, and as you can see, it's starting to buckle up on me a little bit, and that is because I didn't put water on the backside. So I'm just gonna have to deal with it. But in the meantime, I am applying the colors that I know will mix really well, and I think I did a pretty good job. The next step I am going to do is take just a regular colored pencil, and I want to outline my shape. I could go right in with watercolor, but I have noticed that when I do that, I can still see those lines a little bit, and if I use a pencil, then I can cover it up much easier. I can also erase those colors pencils quite easily, and even if I take some of that bottom layer off, it's not the end of the world. I know it's hard to see, but I am filling the whole page up with flower petals, and that is my next step. I want them to look organic. I want them to kind of overlap a little bit. I want them to come off the page as well. The next step is putting another layer on top of what I already have. And for that, I have decided to use sort of a blue purple. I still have some of that lunar blue in the little dish, and now I'm adding just a little bit of purple to it, and I'm trying it out on a different kind of paper first, just to make sure that I have the shade that I want. Now, if you may have noticed, I put down some water first. I think what I was trying to avoid was harsh lines, but because the paint is already pretty diluted as it is, I didn't need to do that, and so I decided to mop some of that water off and just add a little bit more of the paint on top of it, and I liked that much better. I made a mistake, and I was able to easily erase that with just a little bit more water, and then just wipe it off with a clean brush. So in a sense, I am doing a negative painting technique here, but instead of keeping going with the petals, I am adding a different third layer on top. I have done this technique in the past, and if I will remember, I will link it at the end of the video. There will be a little card that you can click if you want to go check that out. I really love this technique, and it is so easy and has such a huge effect on your end result. It's just very, very satisfying to do. And also, sometimes I feel a little bit more painterly, meaning I want to be a little bit more precise with my strokes and the way I fill the colors in, and this technique kind of gives me that feeling without having to be more on the precise side. For my third layer, I am just adding some leaves, and for that I'm using two different kinds of greens. And as you can see, I am freehanding these because I already have all my placements where I want them. So now it is just a matter of filling in some of that void and just give this painting a little bit more to look at. I am making sure I'm layering them, I am pairing them, I am letting them come off the page just like I did with the flowers. I feel like this makes it look much more organic than if I were to just stick with the canvas size. As I keep painting, it might become a little bit more obvious to you as to why I started with a fairly light first layer. You can choose whatever you want to do, of course, but the effect is much bigger if your first layer is on the lighter side. After I was done, I was almost sad I didn't use more of that yellow, because the end result where the yellow is particularly beautiful. So I might just have to do that again, but choose a little bit more yellow and maybe even a little bit more of that very bright pink in it. I am still calling this a third layer because I am not going over the first and the second layer. So we're just adding another element to those flowers to make them pop off this page a little bit more. And while I'm doing that, I want to know from you guys if you have tried this technique before and do you like it? I remember when I first tried it, I had a hard time with it, but as I keep doing it, I am getting more used to it, especially if I do it this way. If I keep layering the same flowers on top of each other or that same shape on top of each other, it becomes a little bit difficult for me to see where I need to go. But this way I am enjoying it so much more. And if you are watching that previous video, then you will hear me talk about this. You see me using that white pen, I am giving it another chance. I was trying it out in my sketchbook and it worked beautifully. And so I was like, okay, I'm giving you another chance, buddy, but please, this time, work for me. And lo and behold, it started acting up again. So my theory is it just does not like the slightly rougher watercolor paper. The paper in my sketchbook is a lot smoother, even though it is 140 pounds, but it's the Canson brand and it just is different. And that pen worked so nice on that other paper. So, in a sense, it worked, and I really wanted a brighter white, and that is why I didn't use that Posca pen that kind of tends to disappear on the watercolor paper, and you have to go over it a few times. So I just have to remember to maybe go over where it's skipping with the Posca later. And in fact, that's what I did with this one. And so wherever the pen was skipping over the paper, that's what I did to kind of fill in those holes. If I keep going over it with the same pen, I tend to take off the white and it's very frustrating. But putting the first layer down with that pen and then maybe using a Posca pen just to fill in the skipped sections works better. I couldn't decide which gold I wanted to use, and so I ended up using this very faint champagne silver. It is gold, but it says champagne silver on the packaging. I love that shade of gold. It is so beautiful. Like I said, I tried this in my sketchbook first, and I used a different gold and I didn't like it as much, so I'm glad I switched it to this lighter gold. So instead of doodling over my design, I'm just adding these layers of lines, and I think it worked really well because the page is already quite busy and I didn't want to take away from those beautiful flowers. It needed something else, and so I decided to bring in some black lines, and I really like how it ended up. At first, I was just using the lines by themselves, and then later on, I decided that it needed a little bit more. I just couldn't quite see the lines. And so I decided to fill in that middle part, and I really like how that popped after. I wasn't quite done yet. I knew that I wanted to bring in another element, and I like circles, and so I decided to bring in some of those in the background. At first, I thought maybe I would just do the outline, but I really liked how the filled in circles looked. And so I decided to give that a try. And as you can see, I'm using the Posca pens again, and that is because I know that they will kind of fade into the background as I go. I used a super fine micron pen to do those first lines. I used a 005, and I believe that is the finest one that they have. And now I am filling it in with a brush pen from a different company. I like them equally, but my 005 is worn out, and so I am glad I have a bunch of different ones. What do you think? Do you like it this way, or do you like it the first way? I really enjoy how it looks when I fill them in. As a last step, I decided that it was just a little bit too busy with the dots that I put down for the background, and so I chose a few and filled them in with that magenta, and I really like how it breaks it up a little bit. And with those finishing touches, I am calling this one done. I am so pleased with how this turned out. I just never know in the beginning how something that I have in my head will translate onto a piece of paper. And today we have a winner. How do you like it? Did you enjoy this? Would you try it for yourself? And if so, would you choose different colors, or would you choose a different shape? As always, thank you so much for spending time with me. I know your time is valuable, and the fact that you clicked on this video just warms my heart. If you liked today's video and you would like to see more, consider subscribing to my channel. I upload every Friday, and I never know what I'm gonna do, so there's always something different, there's always something new to watch if this is something that you enjoy watching. So with that, I'm gonna say goodbye. Stay creative wherever you are in the world, and I will see you next week.